Smith. I'll try to go through her bio really quick so she has some additional time with the program. I think all the golf enthusiasts in the room are going to like what she has to offer. So Stephanie joined Sentry, and most of you know that Tim Noble, Tom Ritchie, and myself, we all work for Hortica. Hortica is now a brand of Sentry Insurance. So Stephanie joined Sentry in 2013 as the Director of Corporate Communications and assumed leadership of the marketing team in 2014. She's led two rebranding efforts at the company. In 2016, the Sentry corporate brand, the first major change to the brand in more than 50 years, and then launched a national advertising effort around that. And then a rebrand of Dairyland brand followed in 2018 with the launch of a national advertising campaign in 2020. In her role, she oversees the Sentry golf partnerships with the PGA Tour, the Sentry Tournament of Champions, and the USGA. And that's what her program is going to be about today. Stephanie's marketing and public relations career spans more than 25 years. Before joining Sentry, she also worked at the Marshfield Clinic as Director of Corporate Communications and served as a press secretary to Wisconsin Governor Tommy Thompson. And as such, she was the youngest, I'll butcher this word, gubernatorial press secretary in the nation. She's also held positions with the United Way of Marathon County, North Central Technical College, and was a former Rotarian. From a personal perspective, I just want to add that I've known Stephanie both as a friend and associate for close to 5.5 years. I will tell you she is extremely professional and a very straight shooter. One of the first meetings that I was in, probably about the time she was undergoing the rebranding, she asked people in the room, what do you think of the current logo? And the logo at the time was like of a Minuteman, like a soldier. I was not one of the first to speak up. I think she maybe read the body language and she said, okay, if anybody says they love it, I'm going to say you're not being completely truthful because it doesn't represent who we are or what we do now or how we interact with our customers. So that's what I mean by a straight shooter. So Stephanie, take it over.
Oh, gosh, thanks, Tracy. That's really kind of you. I'm going to share PowerPoint. Let me know. Somebody signal if you can't see it.
Yep.
Perfect. Like I said, Tracy told me we've got a lot of golf enthusiasts here. I share your enthusiasm. I love talking about this topic. So I hope it's something that you'll enjoy. I'm going to try to share the story through pictures because I think golf courses are really pretty. Let's just face it. So if you're following golf, you may have seen Sentry in the news a fair amount. Started with our extension of our title sponsorship of the Sentry Tournament of Champions. In February, the announcement that we'll be hosting the 2023 US Senior Open. And then just last week, we became the official insurance partner of the USGA. So why, you might say? I'll tell you, there are two answers to the question, why does Sentry do this? And to quote my boss, the first is golf is in our DNA. So let me take you through that a little bit. Some of you may have heard of Sentry World. That's where it started. More than 30 years ago, Sentry Insurance built Wisconsin's first destination golf course. Before Kohler, before Erin Hills, way before Sand Valley, Sentry World drew golfers to the state of Wisconsin. It was built, designed and built by Robert Trent Jones Jr. And this was one of his first solo project after he formed his own company, leaving his father's company. And at the time, he called it his Mona Lisa. Well, years later, golf courses, wear and tear took place. So we needed to do something to revitalize it. So in 2013, we brought Robert Trent Jones Jr. back to reimagine Sentry World. What you see on the screen here, this is 3 pictures of the same hole, number 13. You see on the left, that's 1982. That's what it started out with. 2013 during the renovation there. And then here's what it looks like today in 2020. A really beautiful hole. I have put a lot of balls in that water right in front of the green there. So after the renovation of the golf course, we began having interest again in hosting golf tournaments. And we began reaching out to organizations, the NCAA, the Big Ten. We talked to the PGA Tour, and we talked to the USGA. And those conversations started opening up some opportunities. The first was the Sentry Tournament of Champions. So shortly after our rebrand in 2016 and those conversations, Sentry Tournament, the PGA Tour reached out to us, and we didn't host, we're not hosting a PGA tournament. Instead, we became the title sponsor of the Sentry Tournament of Champions. So this is a one-of-a-kind tournament. It takes place in Maui in January. It's the first tournament of the calendar year, and it is a one-of-a-kind tournament in that those who play are the winners of PGA Tour events from the previous year. It's a fantastic competition. We get phenomenal views, both on TV, and if you happen to be there in person. It's a very intimate tournament too. We have a small field. Again, in order to play in this tournament, you have to win a PGA Tour event. So we can have 47, 48 golfers tops in this tournament, but it's really relaxed. The players come, they bring their families. We all stay at the same hotel. So it's not unusual if you're at the pool that you might be sitting next to a PGA Tour player and his family, and they're just really open and welcoming, and conversations take place. So fantastic experience. That's a view down number 18 during the 2020 tournament. 2021, the fan base that you see wasn't there in January this year. But what's really important is we get to spend some quality time with our customers. Our customers, our agents, our business partners, and they have a fantastic experience. Right here, you see some of our business leaders and our guests. They're talking with Mark Rolfing, who is a commentator for the Golf Channel. Another shot to share with you, again, the time that we spend together with customers and business partners, and see some amazing golf. This picture is captured during the last hole of the 2020 tournament. We had a three-way, three-hole playoff. Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed, and Xander Schauffele, with Justin Thomas eventually winning that 2020 event. I have never seen anything as exciting in the golf tournament as watching those three guys slug it out for 3 holes to eventually have a winner. But I gotta tell you, it's not just great golf, you see. You can see some friendly faces. This is Tom Ritchie, and I am sure that Tom would be happy to tell you anytime about his experience as a volunteer. I think it was the 2019 Sentry Tournament of Champions, he was there. So, and I'm not sure, I keep looking, trying to figure out who that golfer is behind him, but Tom's telling everybody to be quiet. So, as I mentioned before, we talked with the USGA about hosting their championships. And in 2019, we got our chance. Sentry World hosted the USGA Girls Junior Championship, and this was the best golfers, best female golfers 18 and under. Here's our winner. It was a week-long competition. Starts with a couple of rounds of stroke play, and then there's a cut, and then they move to match play. And I have got to tell you, these young women are absolutely phenomenal golfers. I have played longer than they have been alive, and I will never be the caliber of golfer that these girls are. Many, you see 13-year-olds just bombing the ball. Many of these young women, I'm just looking at caps here, you can see Duke and Texas, they're headed for collegiate golf careers, and winners of this tournament go on to very successful LPGA careers. This was a fantastic event for Central Wisconsin. We drew crowds that this event has never seen. And our goal going into this was to really put on the best junior girls that ever has been. And we wanted to impress the USGA because we wanted to earn the right to host more and bigger tournaments. And that worked out pretty well for us. Last month, it was announced that Sentry World will be hosting the US Senior Open in 2023. Other than the US Open, this is the biggest golf or the biggest championship the USGA runs. It's been won by names you will recognize: Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, Lee Trevino, Jack Nicklaus, Hale Irwin. And most recently, the winner and the runner-up are two golfers that the state of Wisconsin's pretty proud of. Steve Stricker won it, and Jerry Kelly was the runner-up. So we're already getting ready, looking forward to 2 years from now when these the world's top senior men golfers will be in central Wisconsin. But as we started talking with the USGA, getting to know them, hosting the junior girls, agreeing to host the Senior Open, we built a strong working relationship with the USGA. And we realized that we not only shared a love of golf, but we shared values. So that led to an official partnership. It was announced last week, Sentry becoming the official golf partner of the USGA. We become only the 6th corporate sponsor of the USGA, joining American Express, Cisco, Deloitte, Lexus, and Rolex. Along with that, our emphasis with the USGA in this partnership will be to be the presenting sponsor of the GIN system, the Golf Handicap Information Network. You know, as you golfers know, this is a sport that anybody can play and compete with anyone else because of the handicap system. You can be young, you can be old, the handicap system evens it all out, and people of all ages and all abilities can play together and enjoy the game. So we will be sponsoring the rollout, the improvement, enhancement of the GIN system. So I said earlier, there were 2 reasons that we got involved with golf. The second reason, golf's an integral part of how we do business. Let me just tell you, read this quickly. This is what our CEO said. We don't just love golf at Sentry, it's an integral part to who we are and how we've done business for decades. There's no better environment for building and strengthening relationships than on a golf course. Golf brings people together, business professionals, communities, families, and the value the game teaches, integrity, fairness, and a strong work ethic are foundational to how we do business. As a marketer, I've got 2 goals for this partnership. Number 1, I want to build brand awareness. And number 2, and we talked about that earlier, use golf to build relationships with customer, brokers, agents, and business partners. We do that by playing golf at Sentry World with them, by attending the Tournament of Champions, as well as other professional events that will soon include the US Open. So golf's big business, an $84 billion business. In the US, people watch golf, they play golf. The impression, the positive impression of golf is growing over the last 7 years. Still mostly a male sport, but again, golf is big business in the US. There are 107 million golf enthusiasts, 67 million watch golf, another 33 million of those play golf, and 6 million attend golf events. And when we look at the demographics here, based on age, education, income, this is Sentry's target audience. Digging a little deeper, we want to connect with business decision makers, business owners, as well as brokers and agents. And as we dive deeper, we see that this is a term I'm going to point out here, index. It means an index of 100 is what an average person does. So anything over 100, somebody does more than the average person. And as we look at this, business decision makers, business owners, brokers, and independent agents, far more than the average person. They're golf fans, they play golf, they watch the PGA Tour on TV, and they watch the majors on TV. So we've got a pretty perfect match with who we are trying to reach and their interest in this sport. Our own research tells us a little bit more. 60% of business decision makers that we're trying to reach play golf. They watch the Sentry Tournament of Champions. Even more important to me, those who follow it actually know that Sentry is the sponsor of the Tournament of Champions. And the fact that we are associated with golf improves their impression of Sentry. Here's a little bit more, some more statistics here. Of the things insurance decision makers like to do, number 3 is golf. And they are twice as likely to enjoy golf than the average person. When we add an amateur golfer in the mix, and that's what we get with this USGA partnership, we see even more dramatic results. They belong to country clubs, they play golf, and within the last 12 months. So you can see these numbers of business decision makers, more than 4 times likely to belong to a country club. That means they probably have a handicap. More than twice as likely to play golf occasionally, and even more so to play golf within the last year. So when we look at this, we just, again, it reinforces to us that golf is the right sport for us to connect with this audience. They're golfing on their free time, they golf and they network in their job for golf. More than 60% play. And then looking at the right, our tournament, our target audience watches our tournament more than most golf tournaments. So you'll see the 4 majors listed there, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, the Players Championship, which is happening this week in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. And then right after that comes the Sentry Tournament of Champions. So you might ask me, does golf work? The answer is yes. This year, the Sentry Tournament of Champions, our viewership grew. It was the most watched golf event on NBC in January. The only thing that beat it was CBS's Sunday broadcast of the tournament at Torrey Pines. And that happened to be a weekend when there were no NFL playoffs, so no competition. Our research is telling us that golf fans who watch the Tournament of Champions, they recognize our name, they have a favorable impression of us, they value our brand message, and they're likely to consider Sentry as a viable insurance carrier, to consider buying from us, and to recommend Sentry to others. In fact, you can see the results that we have from 19 to 21, we're growing. They know who we are on an unaided basis. For marketers, that means name the company that sponsors the Tournament of Champions. Without prompting, they say Sentry. They'll consider us as their carrier, and the intent to purchase just went up astronomically. So golf works for Sentry, and we're really proud to do that. So thanks for having me. If there's time, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was very enlightening. And I think all of us, I don't know that any of us needed any more encouragement to go play golf and excuse it away as working, but I'm sure that there's a few that have done that. Are there any questions from anybody on Zoom, or if there's live?
I just had one thing I wanted to mention, Mark, and ask Stephanie to maybe tell the crowd, in addition to what, you know, the relationship did for us in golf, Sentry was also very instrumental and very proud at contributions that they made for food banks and things like that in Maui in January. And I don't recall the total number off the top of my head. Stephanie, do you know that?
Oh yeah, it's $250,000.
Yeah.
So most people don't recognize that all PGA Tour events are nonprofit events, and all proceeds from the event are returned to charities. We made a point with Maui to say that contributions from the tournament stay on the island. Maui's a beautiful place. If you visited, you probably see, great views and beaches and big hotels, but the people who live on Maui and work there, the cost of living for a family of four to be able to afford their own home is $78,000 a year. They need to have an income of $78,000 a year to afford housing. So Maui there are a lot of working poor on Maui. So we've been convinced we need to keep our contributions there. We don't have results for this year's tournament yet. Last year's tournament returned about $450,000 to the community. And Maui was particularly hard hit. When the tourism industry tanked, people couldn't support themselves. So yes, with this year's tournament, we made a contribution of $250,000 to the Maui Food Bank.
Thanks, Stephanie.
You bet.
Hey, Stephanie, this is John Gibbons. I might have missed this. I was listening to everything you said, but I was thinking about it. What is the logo now that replaces the Minuteman?
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me get it for you. It's, here it is. Let me share the screen again. You can see our logo here on the right. We're a company that believes in relationships and conversation. So you see the Sentry name, easy to read. But this icon here that we call it the quotes, because we say when you have a conversation and you mean what you say, you put it in quotes. So the quote represents two sides of a relationship, two sides of conversation, and kind of in this negative space here, you'll see an S. So this is our new logo. I'll tell you, it looks phenomenal in Maui. I'm really pleased that Mother Nature adopted our brand colors, light blue and dark blue.
Okay, thanks,
You
Stephanie.
bet.
Well, if nothing else, this is, there's something in the chat room there. Didn't Joe Malenk beat Justin Thomas at the last tournament?
Okay, I need to know that name. I don't recognize him from the lineup, but
He's
I'm
an
sure
up and
it's a
comer.
possibility. I'm sure it was a definite possibility.
Well, this is a great start to getting off the Rotary Golf League, which starts here in just a couple of short weeks. So awesome timing on this. Stephanie, thank you very much from all of us here at Rotary.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.